viewers and subscribers, my students, and those that may not be my students. Again, thank you back for returning to Mr. Squire's Civics and Economics class. Yes. Anyway, my last video, we touched on how to become a citizen. You remember that? How many ways are there? Correct. How many requirements are there for naturalization? Correct. I know we touch on 5, but I know your homework sheet addresses 5, but we are going to make sure we know 6, because in Mr. Squire's class, we go above and beyond the expectations. So then we talked about the First Amendment freedoms as well as the 14th Amendment and how it applies to, correct, due process at the state and local level relating with citizenship. Then, again, I told my students, the easy way to remember the First Amendment freedoms is through RAPS. R-A-P-S. And that's religion. Religion. Assembly, press, petition, what's the last one? Speech. Take a few minutes to go back over those 5 fundamental freedoms and the description for each one. Because in a moment, I'm going to follow up with each one to make sure that you know it 100%. Okay? Ready? You got a moment. Make it happen. Alright. So, if I say that the government cannot establish its own official religion, I am focused on which freedom? Correct. Religion. If I say that individuals can make their viewpoints known to government officials, which First Amendment freedom is it? Petition. Which freedom means to express one's opinions and beliefs? Speech. Which one applies to an individual can publish information even if it criticizes the government? Press. Correct. So, I think we went over religion. We went over press, petition, speech. And the last one, individuals have the right to gather together peacefully. Assembly. Correct. So, now that we touched on the 5 fundamental freedoms, or the 5 First Amendment freedoms, let me make sure I say that again. Now that we have covered the 5 First Amendment freedoms, we want to touch on the last portion of citizenship that touches on the duties and viewers and subscribers, my students, and those that may not be my students. Again, thank you back for returning to Mr. Squire's Civics and Economics class. Yes. Anyway, my last video, we touched on how to become a citizen. You remember that? How many ways are there? Correct. How many requirements are there for naturalization? Correct. I know we touch on 5, but I know your homework sheet addresses 5, but we are going to make sure we know 6 because in Mr. Squire's class we go above and beyond the expectations. So then we talked about the First Amendment freedoms as well as the 14th Amendment and how it applies to, correct, due process at the state and local level relating with citizenship. The easy way to remember the First Amendment freedoms is through RAPS. R-A-P-S. Religion, assembly, press, petition, what's the last one? Speech. Take a few minutes to go back over those 5 fundamental freedoms and the description for each one. Because in a moment, I'm going to follow up with each one to make sure that you know it 100%. Okay? Ready? You got a moment. Make it happen. Alright. So, if I say that the government cannot establish its own official religion, I am focused on which freedom? Correct. Religion. If I say that individuals can make their viewpoints known to government officials, which First Amendment freedom is it? Petition. Which freedom means to express one's opinions and beliefs? Speech. Which one applies to an individual can publish information even if it criticizes the government? Press, correct. So, I think we went over religion. We went over press, petition, speech. And the last one, individuals have the right to gather together peacefully. Assembly, correct. So, now that we touched on the 5 fundamental freedoms or the 5 First Amendment freedoms. Let me make sure I say that again. Now that we have covered the 5 First Amendment freedoms, we want to touch on the last portion of citizenship that touches on the duties and responsibilities of citizens. So, there are, how many things? 1, 2, 3, 4, I think. First and foremost, we need to know for the government to be effective, citizens must fulfill their civic duties. I repeat, for the government to be effective, citizens must fulfill their civic duties. How many civic duties are we going to cover? 4. How many? And students, welcome back to Mr. Squire's Civics and Economics class. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. Anyway, for the government to be effective, we must understand that citizens must fulfill their civic duties. What did you say, Mr. Squire? For the government to be effective, citizens must fulfill their civic duties. So one thing you want to know about duties, right? Think of duties like things at home. Duties are things that you must do. And if you don't do them, you have some form of consequence. For example, the first duty is, you know what it is? obey laws. What did I just say? Okay. Think about when you're at home. Everybody is at home, relaxing, just chilling. No, like I said, just think about it at home. At home, everybody knows that there's a certain amount of rules or laws that applies in your house. Like, for example, your mama might say, when you come in the house, you got to take your shoes off. Or, when you first get home, you got to do your homework. And if you don't do these things, what happens? Yeah, some form of consequence. Right? Okay. That's pretty much what it's like for obeying laws. Citizens, if you do not abide by the laws of the government, you will be faced with a consequence. Mr. Squire, what is this consequence? Who knows? It might be a fine, it might be jail time. But we don't want to get too caught up in that. We want to make sure we get to the topic at hand, which is the what? 5 duties. How many did we say already? 1, correct. So the next one is pay taxes. What did I say? Correct. Pay taxes. So, Mr. Squire, how can you help me understand that a little more? It's simple. If you go into a corner store right now, you get a bag of chips, and that bag of chips costs $1. Are you gonna pay the dollar flat? No, Mr. Squire. Of course not. You know why? Because there are taxes on products. How does the government receive its money? Through the taxes sold within that county, city, whatever. You get what I'm saying? But the heart of what I'm saying is, or the most important part is, if you do not pay the taxes on that bag of chips, because in the end, even though it's $1, it ends up probably being about 107. And if you don't have that 107, can you get the chips? No. Well, some kids might say, yeah, Miss Squire might get those chips because next thing you know, somebody might give me 7 cents, or the cashier might say you're good. But in life, it doesn't always work that way. So, if you don't have that $1.07, does it mean that you're always going to be able to get that bag of chips? I likely doubt it. But we get the concept of how this works now. If you do not pay the taxes, there is a consequence. You can't receive either the good or the service that you are trying to receive. But anyway, going to the next one. The next one is serving in the armed forces if called. So you like, Miss Squire, I don't care what nobody said. I'm not going in no service. I'm not going to the army. So you have to understand, if when you go to college, or if you apply to certain jobs, you automatically are enrolling into the selective service. What does the selective service mean, Mr. Squire? At one point, they created the Selective Service Act. This Selective Service Act made it a requirement that if you are you are chosen to be in the draft or participate in the draft, you have to go. Meaning that if the government calls you to go to war, you must go. And if you do not go, there is a consequence. Either a fine or jail time. I don't know, because I haven't been put in that position, and I don't want to be put in that position. But if it has to be, hey, I'm going to do what I got to do. I got to serve my country. The next one is serve on a jury or be a witness in court if summoned. Mr. Squire, why do I have to go to court? What happens is the courts send out a document known as a subpoena. What did I say? Subpoena. What that is that document requires that whoever the specific individual that is on that document has to show up on or show up in court on the next following court date. So what did I just say a subpoena was? Think about it. Either write it down or tell somebody close to you. Got it? A subpoena is a document that requires an individual to appear in court the next following court date. Got it? Good. Now, I think I've given you, have I? I think I've given you all of the duties. Let's make sure. Obey laws, pay taxes, serve on a jury or witness, as a jury or witness, if called by the court, serve in the armed forces. I thought it was 5. I'm realizing that it was only 4. So it's 4, not 5. 4. It's 4, 4, 4. It's 4. One thing you want to understand about these duties, again, citizens who do not fulfill these civic duties, all of them, all 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, will be faced with some form of legal consequence. What did I say? What may be the 2 legal consequences? Either or Thank you. Alright, now that we've touched on the 4 duties of citizens, how many duties was it? 4. Name all 4 of them to yourself. I'm going to give you a hint. O, P, S, S. Either way. O, P, S, S. That's it. It's that easy. O, P, S, S. That's the easy way to help you remember. So take a minute right now to think about what does O, P, P, S stand for each duty. Now write them down. Alright. O, obey laws. P, pay taxes. S, serve as a juror or a witness if summoned, and serve on the armed forces if called. That's it. O, P, S, S. Obey laws, pay taxes, serve on the jury or a witness, serve in armed forces if called. Bam. Now, another way to help me remember the responsibilities. One thing you want to remember about the responsibilities is responsibilities are things you should do, not things that you must do. So they are voluntary. Mr. Squire, what does voluntary mean? Voluntary means, or voluntary means that you do not have to do it. It is something you should do, not something you must do. There will be no consequence if you do not do these things. But it's 7 of them. How many? 7. First one is register to vote. Second is hold elective office. The third one is communicate with government officials to influence the government actions. Fourth is serve in voluntary government appointed positions. That was a lot right there. Again, that was R, register and vote. H, hold elective office. Next is what? C, communicate with government officials to influence government actions. Then you go to S, serve in voluntary government appointed positions. Then we got P, participate in campaigns. So let me run that back. R is register and vote. H, hold elective office. C, communicate with government officials to influence government actions. Then you go with S, serve in voluntary government appointed positions. Then you got P, participate in political campaigns. What does that mean, Mr. Squire? That means run for office. Run to be the mayor. Run to be the governor. Run to be the school board leader. Run for something that's participating in political campaigns. Then we go with the 6th one, which is K, keep informed regarding current issues. K, keep informed about Keep informed regarding on current issues. So we got R, H, C, S, P, K, and then the last one is R. Respect others' rights to an equal voice in the government. Why? Because each and every person voice matters. Because someone may be speaking on an issue that you haven't spoken on. Or someone may be seeing or already seeing a trend going on that's going to become a problem that they're nipping it in the butt early. But anyway, how can we remember the responsibilities? Ms. Squire, 7 of them. It's a lot. You're right, it's a lot. But I just showed you an easy way to remember it. R, register and vote. What's the next one? H, hold elective office. What's the next one? C, communicate with government officials in order to influence government actions. Then you got S, serve in voluntary government appointed positions. Then you got P, participate in political campaigns. What did I say that meant again? Run for office. Then you got 6, which is, what you said the 6th one was? K. Say it again. K. Keep informed on, or keep informed regarding current issues. And then the last one was R. Respect individuals' rights to an equal voice in the government. R, H, C, S, P, K, R. Those are the 7 responsibilities. As always, study. You have your test on Monday. Study, study, study. You have your test coming up. And everything's going to be all on citizenship. From the ways to become a citizen, to the requirements of a naturalized citizen, to the amendments that apply to citizenship, down to the freedoms, knowing those freedoms, and then the duties and the responsibilities, people. Make sure you know it, because I will be testing your knowledge. Be ready for your test, okay? All right. As always, it's your crazy, wild, and energetic teacher, Mr. Squire. I gotta go. So,